What's up, everybody? Azario here, ADSPLAY Yu-Gi-Oh 101. Y'all know the channel. And this video is going to be a video that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. I just never had the time to do it, but now that I finally do, I decided that, you know, why not do it right now? Now, as you can see in the title, the whole topic of this video is going to be tier systems and why they are bullshit. Not why I feel they are bullshit. This is not an opinion. This is fact. Why the fuck they are bullshit. Hands down, irrefutable fact. Tier systems are bullshit. And it does nothing but promote favoritism in the fighting game community. That's all it does. And not only does it promote favoritism, but it also promotes bitching. It promotes bitching. And I'm going to get to that point in a minute, because this is actually a pretty good fucking point. And everything I'm saying in this video is going to hold merit. And it's going to be hard to argue with the shit that I say, even though people, I'm pretty sure, will. Because they want to defend their tier system, and they're going to be right, and all this other shit. So, let me just explain why tier systems are. Now, first things first, understand who's talking here. I'm not somebody that just got my hand on a copy on Street Fighter 4 and just automatically think I know what the fuck I'm talking about. No. I am somebody that's been playing video games since yay high. Since I've been pretty much just probably when I was born. But as far as back as I can remember, you know, I've been playing video games since I was like 2 or 3 years old. And for fighting games in particular, I've gotten my experience from the Atari 2600, Activision's boxing. So we're talking about, man, like a few decades. You know, now mind you, I'm only 26, but I've played every system up until now, from the ColecoVision to the Atari 2600 to the Sega Genesis, the Sega Saturn, the fucking Sega CD, Sega Dreamcast, the Jaguar, every system that you can name, I've played. And I played every fighting game I could get my hands on, because growing up, that was my favorite genre. That and Japanese RPGs and American RPGs were my favorite. But, you know, fighting games were one of those genres that stayed in my circulation of games that I collected for any system that I owned. And so my experience goes as far as back as that. Now, growing up, I didn't really have too many outside influences per se. Like, the internet back then wasn't even an issue. People were lucky to get on the internet and play like little 8-bit video games like Castle and fucking, you know what I'm saying, like any other little internet game that they had back then, because I wasn't even avid, you know, on computers. Not like I wasn't on computers that much back then. So I can't really say. But people back then used to be playing, you know, saying like video games like Oregon Trail, and there was another game called Castle Kingdom or something like that. And there was a few other games back then where people were playing on the computer. But everybody was on AOL Online, and you hated when that phone picked up, because then your fucking internet dropped. That shit was funny. But anyway, getting back, not getting too far off subject. To explain why tier systems are bullshit, understand that my experience in fighting games comes from way back then. You know, and I'm only 26 years old, but I have a lot of experience in fighting games. You know, playing every system up until now, every fighting game I can get my hands on. And growing up, I never heard about a tier system. I didn't even know a such thing existed. Like, those two words, tier and system, were never put together from my experience. I didn't start hearing about tier systems until, I would say, a few years after Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came out. Not even a few years. Like, the first time I even heard of a tier system really was, it was after Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but I think it was during the era of the PlayStation 3. Like, that initial era of the PlayStation 3. Yeah, I'm not able to pinpoint exactly when, but it couldn't have been no longer than 5 years ago. You know, like tier systems were never a thing with me, and I never understood the reasoning behind a tier system. And really, when I first started hearing about a tier system, or when I started hearing it often, the first game that comes to mind, well, actually, before I dive into that, first let me explain what a tier system is supposed to be, based on what I've heard. Because again, I didn't grow up hearing about a tier system before, so I'm listening to other people and what they're saying, and basically the general consensus, the general idea as to what a tier system is basically, when you're talking about fighting games, a tier system is basically a scaling system that's supposed to let you know what characters are, so like better than others. If this character has a lot more abilities, then this character right here is top tier. And then you have mid-tier characters, and then you have low-tier characters. That's basically like the way the structure is set up. If the character has some fast moves that can, come out quickly and have like a wide variety of those moves, then they're top tier. Mid-tier characters are like the top tier characters, but they don't have as much to offer. And then the low-tier characters are the characters that have very few things to offer. So basically, just talking to different people, being on different forums, this is what the general idea of what a tier system is. And you have people that believe in this tier system so much, but these are the same people that argue and bitch and whine about seeing the same matchups when you believe in a tier system that, again, promotes favoritism. Anytime I've seen a fighting game in today's modern era, it's always been an argument as to which character is top tier, mid tier, or low tier. And this is the reason why I say tier systems are bullshit. Now, first and foremost, I've never heard the tier system being used as much as I have until this came out. When this game came out, tier system, I've been hearing the term tier system way more often than any other game that came before it. Now, and many characters in this game are considered to be, every character in this game is going to be in some tier. You have characters like Dan, who are considered to be low tier. You have characters that are like Ryu, or you have characters that are considered to be even evil Ryu, or Oni, that are considered to be top tier, quote unquote. And ever since the Ultra Street Fighter update, ever since this game came out, you got characters like Dudley that are considered to be top tier now. I don't know, it's just bullshit to me. I mean, yeah, it's because of the changes and all that, but again, this is the reason why I say tier systems are bullshit. And the reason for that is because when I came up playing fighting games, again, tier systems wasn't even a thing. I never heard of it, before. And to me, it was never about which character was good. It was always about how good you were with the character. And you have people that believe wholeheartedly that just because they use a top tier character, that they themselves have no work to put in. Like, there's no time they need to put in learning the character. Really, like, it's just toss out a random special move or a random super move or a random ultra, and automatically, like, this shit's supposed to land. You know, it's one of those situations. And I, I, even as I'm trying to explain it right now, like I'm still baffled by the whole tier system, you know, architecture. Like the whole, like those words just don't make any sense to me. It's just bullshit to me. Because if the whole idea of a tier system was to determine what characters are so much better than others, you know, if that alone was the deciding factor, which to some people, again, like it is, because I need to get finished explaining that, kind of got sidetracked. What is a character like Gin doing winning the 2013 Evo Fighting Championships? Which it always goes back to what I said earlier. It's not who you're playing with, it's how you're playing them. Xion, I hope I pronounced his name right, because I don't pay attention to fighting game community like that much, but I do pay attention to like the championships and things like that. And you know, Xion won the 2013 Street Fighter 4 championships of that year at Evo, which is like the grand championships out of, you know, the entire world, and it's held in Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken, in the United States. So again, if it's all about the character and not about the player's ability with the character, then why is a character who isn't top tier by any means according to the tier system, why is that character winning tournaments? You know, it's never about, you know, now I don't know if he's won a tournament with Gin anytime after that, because again, I'm too busy doing my own thing. I ain't got time to sit around and watch fighting game community videos like that as much as I want to. But you know, it's just the fact that he knew what the fuck he was doing with the character, and not so much that this character was mid-tier and low tier. And then I hear some people saying that this character is like hidden top tier. Some characters are hidden top tier. How the fuck are you hidden top tier? Either you top tier or you're not. You know what I'm saying? Like it's bullshit, because I'm confusing you with all this just as much as I'm confused by it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And when it comes to the topic of knowing how to use your character, it's not about the character that you use, it's how you use your character. Nothing comes to mind more than this game, Tekken Revolution. Now in this game, Tekken Revolution, for the people that know about Tekken that haven't played it yet, in this game they introduced some new moves called supers and criticals, and basically it's just regular moves that they had in their respective Tekken games, and they gave them the ability to add extra damage, and they have like cool effects that's with it. And there's one move called a critical move, or as the players call it, red moves, that has like a split second of invincibility. And the purpose of that was to, when you're getting put under pressure and your opponent is doing all these combos and weird hits on you, and then your opponent is just rushing you down and you don't know what to do in a tight spot, you could just do a critical move. Since it has that split second of invincibility, the hit will go through and it'll make contact and it'll knock them back, doing pretty much like a nice bit of damage. So it's a very powerful move, and when you add on to the fact that it has that split second of invincibility, it makes for a very useful move. Now, this is where it comes back into that, it's not what character you play with, it's the player. You know, these days it's like, you know, these days it's like the player, the character in the fighting game makes the player. The player doesn't make the fighting game character. You know what I'm saying? Like the character in the fighting game makes the player good, and not the player making the character in the fighting game good. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit is just backwards now. And it's because of that tier system way of thinking. Like just because you're using a top tier quote unquote character, which is bullshit again. Like anytime I say top tier, like that shit, anytime I refer to the tier system, to me, like my mind just instantly alerts bullshit. Like the words bullshit just flash across, you know what I'm saying, like my mind, and I just can't avoid that. So forgive me if I seem like I get kind of lost, because it's just ridiculous. But these days it's like the character in the fighting game makes the player good, instead of the player making the character in the fighting game good. And with those red moves having that split second of invincibility, yeah, it's powerful. However, there's a recovery time that takes about, say, like 1 or 2 seconds. And during this time, characters get punished. Like the other player that uses the critical move, granted that the opponent blocked it, they can get what's called punished, which is a time frame that lasts about like 1 or 2 seconds, as it does in Tekken Revolution, where the opponent cannot block. So it's basically open season. Do whatever you want to them, knock them in the air, do an air combo, or whatever the case may be. And I can't tell you how many, hate messages I've gotten, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you have went through this too. Hate messages I've gotten, and messages from people that mad that they lost with a top tier character. In Tekken Revolution in particular, I constantly keep going up against Laws, Lilies, Kazuyas, Alyssas, and every once in a while I might go up against like a Kuma or like a Brian. You know what I mean? And it's the same, and they do the exact same shit. Not that it's, like, they don't try to implement new strategies with the characters. They don't try to, learn about the character's moves. They don't try to learn or try to take experience from their previous fights as to when to throw out a certain move. They don't understand like things like bait tactics. They don't understand strategy. They don't understand, none of these things. And this is the reason why I say in the beginning of the video, tier system promotes bitching. Because when you have people, I don't know if this is the actual case, but this is how they give themselves off to think. They give themselves off, or like they have this impression that they believe in a tier system so fucking much that when you beat them with a character that arguably isn't supposed to lose a match because they're so quote unquote top tier or whatever, they get so mad at you thinking that you're the problem. How dare you block my character's attacks? How dare you block this top tier character? You know what I'm saying? Like they come at you with this elitist attitude, like, motherfucker, you don't even know how to play the damn game. Think about it like this. And this is for all the people that does the stupid shit. If I'm going to like any fighting game tournament, and I find out that everybody in that tournament except me is using either a Law or a Kazuya, or an Alyssa, or any of the other characters that I said that I went up against up in Tekken Revolution, right? If I find that out, that everybody is using these quote unquote top tier characters, my main character in Tekken Revolution at the moment right now is Lee. Lee, Leo, Miguel, Christina, and that's pretty much it. I've had people get mad at me for using Lee. Lee, arguably, because he doesn't have too much. Like, he only has one 10-hit combo. He only has one, 10-hit combo, and I actually said that twice. But Yeah, like he only has one 10-hit combo. Like he doesn't really have as much to offer as other characters in the game. So I've had people getting mad at me for beating me with Lee. I've had people, um, say that Lee isn't shit, and then when I beat him with him, all of a sudden these people want to use Lee like he's the best thing ever. Like, it's not who you're playing with; it's how you, as a player, play your character. Tier systems to me will forever and always be bullshit. We're not even gonna talk about this abomination, but yeah, we really got to press the bullshit button on this issue, man. Like, for the people out there that believe in tier systems, understand that that does not mean that you can't lose a match. You have to learn how to play your character in these fighting games and stop expecting to win every single time you use one of these characters that are considered to be top tier or whatever. Because, again, if tier systems were the deciding factor, if that alone was the deciding factor as to letting you know what characters are good, then a character like Gin wouldn't, then somebody like Xion wouldn't be winning tournaments with Gin, who is not a top tier character at all. Even though he has a lot to offer, the way Gin as a character executes his moves, he has a lot of potential when used correctly, which Xion does. That's his main character, and he's very good with him. And he's pretty much the only person using Gin on a consistent basis. Everybody else is moving to other characters, and Gin is one of those characters that get overlooked. And the only time you ever seen somebody using Gin is quite frankly is Xion. Like, he is the only consistent Gin player that I've seen. I haven't seen anybody else use Gin. I literally haven't. But it's like people talk shit about certain characters being, oh, this character is low tier, or saying all this other shit. Oh, you shouldn't use this character because he's low tier. You shouldn't use this character because he's mid tier. Like, shut the fuck up, man. You don't even know how to use the character that you're using, and you're gonna sit there and tell me that I shouldn't play with a fucking certain character because he's in some imaginary tier system that is literally bullshit. I have to press the bullshit button on that. Not every character is meant to be played the same. And this is another thing that I got to speak on before I end this video. Every character is absolutely not meant to be played the same. Again, going back to Ultra Street Fighter 4, or like really just Street Fighter 4 in general, that whole series of Street Fighter 4 games, Dan is considered to be pretty much like the worst character in the game. And it's not because Dan is bad. It's just that, again, certain characters in the game take more patience than people are willing to allow themselves to even bother with. And Dan is irrefutably, no debating, the toughest character to use. Not use, but Dan is a character that takes a lot of patience to use, because he doesn't have much compared to the other characters that are similar to him, such as Ryu, Ken, Oni, and Akuma, all these other characters that are also considered to be Shotos. Dan is also a Shoto, but he's like the worst out of the bunch, and pretty much like the worst character in the whole cast of Street Fighter, and has been ever since he was introduced, into the Street Fighter series, which I believe was in Street Fighter Alpha. That's when Dan got introduced, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he's been literally like low tier ever since. But it hasn't been more apparent that he is quote unquote low tier than in Street Fighter 4. And even more in Ultra. Even though they tried to rebalance the game to where tier systems don't mean shit, it's still that argument going on, and it's still that thing that I see people constantly juggling around. If a tier system is such a defining factor, I should not be winning matches that I'm winning. To me, people say that Evil Ryu in Street Fighter 4, in Ultra Street Fighter 4, is so top tier. To me, if we're going to argue about a tier system, we need to argue about the abilities that can be used. Evil Ryu to me will never be top tier. That's if we're going to believe in a tier system. Or that's if I'm going to believe in a tier system. Evil Ryu will never be top tier. Why? Because he has the lowest health out of anybody in the game. Yeah, like they try to beef it up to like 50 more points, but what's that? Like one kick? That's really just like one kick away, and then you knocked off that extra 50. Like, come on. Like that's not really a buff. It doesn't even do shit. Now he's a very offensive heavy character, but he can't take a hit. He can dish out the punishment, but he can't take a damn hit. You know what I'm saying? Like one throw is equal to like 2 throws from like a normal character, or is equal to like 2 throws from like another character in the game, because he can't take a hit. Like, and when something that can't be used in terms of like special moves, because you can control like when you do your special moves, you can control when you throw your punches, your kicks, and all these other things with the character. You cannot control your health. And what I mean by that is the health that you got is the health that that character has. You know, there is no changing that. There's nothing you can do with that. You know, you can control your special moves. You can't control your health per se. You know, not unless you just are very agile in the game and you just, you know what I'm saying, like watching your moves. But I'm meaning in the term of, you know, hopefully you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Again, like me talking about this stupid shit is really fucking with my mind. I can't even think straight right now. Ha, gay. Anyway, but yeah, it's nothing you can do about Ryu's health. It is what it is. You can control your punches, your kicks, but when he gets hits, you know what I'm saying, like when he gets hit, like that low health is going to show. You know what I mean? Like he's going to take more, or like he's pretty much going to die quicker, or he's pretty much going to run out of health a lot more compared to other characters that have more health than him. You know what I mean? Because of the fact that he can't take too many hits. So because of that factor right there, if we're going to sit there and believe in the tier system, I don't see how Evil Ryu is considered to be top tier. Maybe because of his abilities or whatever, I don't know. But again, tier systems are just bullshit to me. People quit believing in this crap. Learn your characters. Quit trying to make the characters make you good. Make the character good. And maybe you won't suck so much. Maybe you wouldn't have to send all these fucking hate messages to people that beat you, such as myself and many other people. You know, maybe you won't have to sit there and get mad at somebody that sees all the shit that you're doing from a mile away and can pretty much just counter it because they went up against it so many times. Because so many people, such as yourself, thinks that the tier system means so much when it doesn't mean a damn thing at all. So it's really just one of those things where, man, I've never believed in the tier system, and hopefully this video was enough to get people to see, all the newcomers that's coming to fighting games, don't believe in that crap. A fighting game since the beginning has always been about this one principle. You find a character that you like, and then you learn as much as you can about that character. You learn everything there is about that character, and then you develop strategies with that character as to how you can catch your opponent off guard, how you can, you know, execute these moves, and eventually you develop the muscle memory in your arms and your hands. Yeah, see, a lot of people don't even think that. They do it all the time, but they don't even think that. You develop muscle memory in your hand, so in your hands and your fingers and your arms, to where you can execute these moves without question. It's pretty much off instinct, and you know that you have this muscle memory when you start playing with other characters, and when your backup is up against the wall, and instinctively you do a move that you would do with the character that you've been learning how to use. So let's say, for example, with me, this happens to me often when I play Tekken Revolution. My main character is Lee, and before that my main character was Leia. You know, it's been times when I use Lee so much that when I switch to Leo and like my back is against the wall, instinctively my hands just move and do combinations that I would be doing for Lee, and I continue, and I just completely throw myself off. Because instinctively, I've used Lee so much that I'm thinking I'm using, you know, like when I'm using another character, I think I'm using Lee, and that just throws my whole strategy off when my back is against the wall. So that's when you know you have good muscle memory, because you just instinctively just go to it right there. In my opinion, like that's what good muscle memory is. Like your mind just goes right to it, and then you just execute those moves that you would do with that character, but you're, you know, using a character that you're not, that isn't your main. You know, hopefully, I'm doing a lot of fucking mumbling right now, and I should have ended this video a lot sooner, but hopefully you guys understood what I meant. It's like, you know, you got good muscle memory, like when your instinct kicks in and you can just do the move with little to no difficulty at all. And that's basically what it is, man. Know the character, don't let the character, or you control the character. Don't let the character control you. That's basically what this is all about, man. So hopefully this video, you know, hopefully you guys were able to see some merit within the video, or whatever the case is. You know, I'm about to be Audi 5000. Peace, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bullshit.